I'm Sam Gillespie.
Andrew Saul.
And he's just not that into games.
Not that into games.
Not that into games at all. Not at all. Not much. Hello and welcome to another episode of I'm Just Not That Into Games. How's it going, Andy?
It's going really well.
It's going really well, just like this record.
I'm sweaty.
So...
Sweating it out.
Shall we get straight into it? After last week's dreary ordeal of Papers, Please, I thought I'd move on to something a little bit more lighthearted and fun. So today's episode, you're going to be playing Portal.
Portal?
Yeah. What do you know about it?
Portal is a game from Valve.
Yep.
It's a very innovative game because it's a game where you play with... It's a first-person shooter where you don't actually shoot anything.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So you have... Basically, the idea behind the game is you have a gun, you shoot with the left click, it shoots a blue portal, you right click, it shoots a yellow portal, and you can go between them... Or orange portal.
Red portal.
Red portal. It's a coloured portal. And you from there, you can move through one portal to get to another area, and it's all about using the space in intelligent and clever ways. From the simple premise of a portal gun, Valve go on to make an excellent set of puzzles that ramp up in difficulty in an interesting and a well-paced way. I've never seen a game go quite consistently in terms of improving the difficulty in a way that never makes you feel like it's just thrown the rug out from underneath you. It's always at that right pace of learning the game. The plot is simple, solid, and fantastically well written. The game is also fairly short, clocking at around 3 hours of content. You should be able to finish this game in the 3 hours you usually set aside for the game. The website howlongtobeat.com reports an average time of 3 hours and 22 minutes to complete. So Portal has long since become one of the most iconic games around just because of that solid design principle of just being really, really aware of everything in every single level. And it really shows by just having this really smooth and brilliant experience. So I reckon that you'll really enjoy Portal. It's a solid game with interesting puzzles wrapped up in a good, clean, simple, fun story. Looking forward to Portal?
Portal is.
Portal is.
That Portal does.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no...
So, now that you've played Portal, what do you think of it?
So, firstly, I played about 3.5 hours of Portal.
Mm-hmm. More than you normally do.
A little bit more, but not too much. I got through to the part where you first use the companion cube, so that's the cube with the love heart on it.
Mm-hmm.
But by this stage, I was over it. Like, I was over Portal because of how clunky I thought the controls were and how much they were starting to annoy me because of that.
Right.
So let's start off with what I liked about Portal.
That sounds good.
So firstly, the story. Now, the computer speech and the story itself, even though the story isn't in your face, I just found the story intriguing and I found everything the computer said genuinely funny and really, really well written. I cannot stress how clever I thought all of that shit the computer was saying to me was.
Yeah.
And like even down to the timbre and the way the computer voice sounded, I don't know, it just, everything made sense.
Yeah. When they first advertised Portal, I remember way back when, they more or less just was selling it on the mechanic and they had a robot explaining it to you, but it was very systematic and simple, and when people actually played the game and they found out about how interesting the character of GLaDOS was, it basically set the game crazy popular because suddenly there was this really cool overarching story and this sort of slightly crazy AI that doesn't really want to kill you. Maybe you don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's crazy. And there's a lot of visual cue, even though the game's quite Spartan in its design.
Yep.
There's enough really clever visual cues to sort of add to the story. Again, without pushing it on you, though. Like, you can get as much of that story as you want or don't want.
Yep.
And the two secret areas, and I'm using air quotes here because they're not really secret, but you don't have to go in there. Mm-hmm. They were just perfect. Just perfect little... What the hell is going on in this place? Like... Look at this place. I mean, there's obviously been people here, but in the first one, it's like there's obviously been people living here, and that added something to a story. And the second one, it's this crazy homage to the companion cube.
Yeah.
Like really weird shit. Like the companion cube stickered over the like bikini models and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? I mean, it's obviously humans again, but what is going on with this place? Anyway, so I like the portal gun. In so much that I thought it was an excellent puzzle-solving device.
Yep.
And I really liked the concept of using it. The puzzles that I really liked relied on pure puzzle and not getting things exactly lined up or timed. And when they relied on pure puzzle, as in there's a logical way to find out how to solve this.
Yeah, and once you work out the solution, you just have to do it. And
I just
it's done.
do the
It's not
solution,
hard.
right? Yeah. I found all those puzzles really, really well designed, and the solutions were clever and interesting.
Yeah.
At least all the ones I did by that stage. Now, what I didn't like, the controls. I often found myself failing because I missed something by a little bit, and this came down to controls. Moving any cubes around, even before we got to that companion cube, was way too annoying and hard. And timing stuff in a puzzle game sucks. This twitch sort of mentality in a puzzle game, because you really feel it in your brain. Like your brain's on this track of like, I need to think about the logical way to work out this puzzle. Like it's a chess piece and I'm moving pieces around the board. And now I'm jumping on platforms and missing a jump.
Yeah, there were a couple of things, especially with the double fling mechanic, where you had to jump down a thing and then shoot a portal while you're falling into it.
Yeah, okay. So that idea, brilliant.
Yeah.
Like I felt Inception-y. I felt all kinds of crazy stuff. I then spent 15, 20 minutes
just
trying to get it right.
To nail it.
I knew what I had to do. I knew where I had to do it. And I'm like, I shot the portal a little bit to the left.
Okay, reset it all up, do it again.
Set it all up. I missed it by a little bit. And I'm like, that's fine if the game is like Sonic, where I'm trying to, or Mario, when I'm trying to reach a platform and I'm missing a jump. I'm focused on that. But now you're like, no. Keep your mind completely focused on puzzles, but also focus completely on the element of like jump at the right time, do this at exactly the right time. You know, a game I played ages and ages ago called Cut the Rope.
Yep.
This is a game which I threw away, even though it's a very big game, very popular game, is because the puzzles got to be cut everything at exactly the right time, and this needs to go here, away from being, this is clever, this is a clever way to solve something. Yeah, anyway. So, and also the puzzles soon started to be pretty samey.
Yeah, they started to fall into like a bigger structure of the same puzzles. So they took the same puzzles and threw them together in ways that made it bigger, but not necessarily different.
Yeah,
in some of those later levels.
And one of the things I started to notice though, even when they were introducing new elements to me, which earlier in the game should have actually was interesting because they did interesting new things. The new elements wouldn't do anything for me. Like they'd introduce this cube or this gun or something, but it didn't. This is my interpretation of it. Is that they were just the same way to solve something, only with a slight twist, which really wasn't a twist. And that's when I really started. When the companion cube came along, I didn't find it at all a new element, even though it was a new element.
Yeah, the entirety of the companion cube is just the idea of having a cube that you need to take with you, whereas the other cubes are all about use it for its purpose and then dump it.
Yeah.
Whereas the entire level was built around using that one cube in multiple places in multiple ways.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter that was a completely new element, and it should have upgraded the puzzle to be something new and different, and it wasn't. And I just did a whole lot of the same new puzzles again. Yeah, I was like, I'd already felt like things were sort of going down the same route and sort of becoming more and more boring. And so I was like, and this is it. The whole level was just boring.
Yeah.
Anyway. So overall, it's a pity such an interesting world and concept is ruined by poorly matched controls and poorly designed levels. I understand this was a special game because it was meant to be a first-person shooter meets puzzle game, but it just doesn't work. The portal gun
I don't know about that. I'm not going to let that one slide.
Well, okay, but the portal gun mechanic in the game world deserve a much better suited game style than this. It's a shame this wasn't ever redone as something that would have suited being able to be purely about puzzles and would have allowed for more interesting setups for the levels. That's my opinion on Portal.
Right. So, I wanted to bring up Portal because a couple of weeks or a couple of episodes ago, for a nondescript time period, we reviewed Bastion, and one of your big complaints about that was that the design for it just felt sort of hacked together. There were levels which just going sort of, we'll build a level that does this thing, and you just go around and you're exploring it going, what is the point of all of this? One of the things that I think Portal does exceptional is those first 15 or so levels have such impeccable design rolling all the way through it. Everything about the game just seems to flow, especially in those early levels. As they're teaching you all of these new mechanics, you never really feel lost as to what to do. And yes, I think that there are a couple of instances where they rely too much on twitch reflexes with the double jump. It's a bad mechanic, and they definitely learned from that in their second game in the series. But the level design in it is crazy good. It's actually often used as an example of how to do a good tutorial design, because the entire game is essentially one big long tutorial showing you all these different mechanics and throwing them all in interesting ways. But there's the level design often would show you things in certain orders so that you understood things in a way that made sense, and they would have little hints as to how to solve the puzzle that you probably don't even notice, but they actually help to make you to lead you to the solution. So from that, I just thought it was interesting to give you the opposite end of really thoughtful and tested and proven design, rather than let's just create something that looks cool and put it all together in a way that's flashy and interesting.
See, I think Portal is one of these examples of people are looking back at this game with far more rose-tinted glasses than they should. Mm-hmm. It's a very, very unique concept. Now, let's remember how Portal came into this world.
Yep.
Portal never came into this world as a standalone game. Portal came into this world via the Orange Box.
Yep.
So a lot of people got Portal who didn't want to get Portal necessarily, but Portal came as essentially a free add-on to Team Fortress and Half-Life 2. Mm-hmm. Was it Half-Life 2?
Yeah, I think it was Half-Life 2 Episode 1, but don't quote me on that one.
Anyway, but there were 3 games, so Half-Life, Team Fortress, and Portal in the same box. Mm-hmm. Sold as the Orange Box was seen as a massively good deal. Millions upon millions of people bought the Orange Box.
Yeah.
As a result, they got to play a game like Portal, which, given that there were 2 first-person shooters in that box, Portal is a first-person shooter.
Oh, absolutely.
So you get a lot of first-person shooter players. So I feel like Portal is more first-person shooter in many ways than a puzzle game.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Now, but it's not a great first-person shooter. That's a problem. And let's not get away from the concept. So I think of Portal is something like Taxi Driver. Mm-hmm. Like you go back and watch, I challenge anyone to go back and watch Taxi Driver and say that it is hands down a perfect and a great movie. No, it's slow in parts and it's not particularly well written overall. But for the time it was released, Taxi Driver was a big movie, like a huge thing, a real watershed moment. Is it a great movie? Meh. I mean, it's okay, and there's definitely some standout performances, but up aside something which is well written and is a good example of the genre. Mm-hmm. Of its particular genre. No, it's not particularly a great movie. For its time, yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just crazy good, yeah? And I think Portal is maybe a game of its time in the fact that it's not actually that good a game, and it's not... And I agree with the whole learning via doing, but maybe that's something that people have ascribed to it after the fact, because... what else would you be doing in a game which is about solving puzzles? I mean, all puzzle games have always been about learning by doing, because that's the fun of it.
But yeah, exactly. You've got to learn the game somehow. You may as well learn while enjoying it.
And most puzzle games are just learning by doing the thing, because that's what a puzzle is. You learn to do a puzzle and the puzzle is done. You learn to do a puzzle and the puzzle is done.
Yeah.
It's a lot different to saying it's like FIFA or chess, where it's like learn how to play the game and the game is playing someone else.
Yeah, right.
So, given all those things, I just don't see what other people see in Portal. And I get the feeling that what other people see in Portal is what they want to see, rather than what the game actually is.
So, at the end of the day, your two biggest criticisms of the game were that the controls felt a bit clunky, and that some of the puzzles rehash some mechanics in the end, in the like mid to late game area. Those seem to be the two biggest complaints that you came with towards the game.
You know what? Now I've talked about it here. I'd say my biggest complaint with the game is it's just not a good game for what it's meant to be.
Well, what is it meant to be? You seem to have this idea that it's meant to be something that it's not.
Okay, so it's meant to be a puzzle game.
Is it?
Yes.
It uses puzzle mechanics, there's no doubt about that, but any game that uses RPG mechanics isn't necessarily going to be an RPG. It uses puzzle mechanics and first-person shooter mechanics as a hybrid. It's not trying to do either of them the best. It's not trying to be the best puzzle game ever made. It's not trying to be the best first-person shooter ever made. But it's trying to create something that is a unique experience for players to play it. And they threw an interesting plot around the whole game, which you even said was pretty interesting and fascinating. So even if it's not aiming to be the best at everything, you can't admit that it kind of hit the nail on the head of being a good puzzle game and a good first-person shooter.
No, see, I don't think that at all. I don't expect it to be the best first-person shooter. I don't expect it to be the best puzzle game. Mm-hmm. But I expect it to be a good... For a game with this much cred and then the fact it gets this many rave reviews, mm-hmm. I expect it to be really solid puzzle game and a really solid first-person shooter. And then what takes it to greatness is that overarching story and the fact that you've now jammed together two genres which no one would have thought realistically. Because, I mean, think of the puzzle solving in first-person games you've seen before.
Yeah, it's all rubbish.
Walk up to a lock. Hey, have you got the blue key? Yes, I have. Oh, cool.
Pull
Excellent.
the levers. Oh, now pull the other lever. Well done.
Yeah, well done. You're a genius.
Yeah.
Well done, Billy. You know, you're going to get a job as a truck driver. Maybe. Don't aim too high.
Yeah.
Start with bicycles. So that's Portal. So let's shoot a blue Portal, shoot an orange Portal.
And GTFO?
Yeah, and GTFO.
Because that's what all the cool kids were saying back in 2006.
2006 is when this game came out.
Yeah, it's quite an old game.
I'm an old person. So it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
And I'm just not that into games. When you think about this podcast and how well produced it is, think to yourself, who is that? Who could that be? And then think to yourself, the answer to that question is probably Ruben Aptrud, author of such bands as Ultrafeedy.
She likes the boys that play football, 'cause they don't treat her well. She goes a million miles an hour and then she wonders why she's still in hell. And he plays Call of Duty when he's not on Facebook. He busts his ass for a paycheck just so he can go out for a load. We gotta celebrate the weekend, and I wanna get my kids a private education. And I wanna get my kids a private education. So sick of talking about my big dumb head. I'm sick of trying to find the answers when I should be giving up instead. I'm gonna need some money